everybody. So tonight we will be installing Billet Pro short throw shifter. It's supposed to be pretty easy, and I can tell you by just holding this, the quality this is. I actually got it from the GT86 Speed Factory website, and this is one of the higher quality things I've ever seen. Even just using the mechanism, it's unreal, the quality of this, and I'm really excited to get it in there. So let's go pull the console out of this car and get started. So the first thing that we need to do is remove the shift knob and the bezel that goes around the shifter. And if you haven't done this before, it's really simple. The knob will twist off. Pardon my lighting here, I'll get this set up when we actually get into the good hard work. Knob comes off, the bezel will just lift out, and you're going to pop the boot off your release, and we're going to disconnect our traction control stuff here, and we're going to get this off, and then we simply pop the parking brake boot off here. Get some better lighting here. There you go. And then, as you can see, I've already got my tool set out. Remove the cup holder, and underneath it there's a little rubber pad. We remove that, and there's 2 bolts down there, and we will get to those and the ones that are underneath the bezel as soon as I get all that pulled off. Okay, now to actually remove the console, we're going to move these 2 bolts here under the cup holder. If I can get that pried out of there quickly. There's the 2 bolts here, so we're going to move those. We've already got the parking brake boot pulled loose, and well, we need to remove Fortune Cat until we are finished, and that's going to come out carefully so we don't disconnect our USB. And we're going to remove these screws up here, and then the console should be able to pull back. I do believe we removed the panels on the side here. These, they pop right off. You just saw me do that. Put them somewhere where they won't get broken. If you can't get this out by just popping it out like I did, you can actually reach up behind here in the hole that you leave and push it out that way. So we're going to remove these bolts here, like I said, these 2 and then these 2, and the console should lift up and back. And we need it out of the way because we have to get right there. Once you get the console pulled up, all we have to do is disconnect the cigarette lighter, and the console can now carefully be moved out of the way. Okay, the next thing we're going to do are remove these 2 white caps to remove the foam insulation. One of the last things we need to do to expose our linkage, there's a wire tender here. We're going to pull that out, and then there's 4 bolts around here. And we're going to take those out. This plate is going to come off, and then this shift boot will come off with it. Now we can actually see our actual linkage mechanism here. Okay. To remove the actual shifter, we need to remove these 4 bolts around here. We need to keep all of this because this is a reverse lockout mechanism right here. As you can see, mine does not work because that's what happens when you buy cheap eBay garbage. So we're going to remove these 4 bolts here, and we're going to take off the reverse lockout plate. There's another plate underneath it, which you can see right here. These are all the same piece. This will come out, and then the difficult part, which is going to be removing this rubber boot, and do not rip it, and then the pin over here that holds the linkage in. Okay, there's actually 2 rubber boots under here. There's the one that stays on the rod and the one that stays on the shift fork, and I put a screwdriver down the passenger side because there's a cotter pin on the driver's side, and that's how people are ripping the boot. So if you can get it pulled out with your finger and get a screwdriver down here on the passenger side, okay, you can get that boot off without ripping it. Now that leaves us with this pin, and it's shaped in an interesting way. You can just use needle nose pliers to get it to come off, but you don't want to drop them. Okay, so we remove that, and don't forget the washer. And then the linkage should, just like this, push through. I don't know if we can see that well enough. There it is. There we go. Let's take this over to the bench and get the new shift lever ready to go in. Okay, the first thing we need to do is remove this lower rubber boot here off the bottom of the shift lever. Okay, the first thing we need to do is carefully remove the lower rubber boot off the bottom of the shift lever, and then we're going to remove this O-ring again carefully to not break it, and we're going to take a saw and we're going to cut in one of these grooves right here. It's not going to weaken it because this entire fixture goes down into a solid hole in the shifter housing in the car. So we're going to cut right here because we need to get all of this off, and it needs to go on the other shifter. Now we have the new Billet Pro shifter and the stock shifter. We can actually see the difference in throw already. And these are the parts that we took off the stock one. Now, to get all these back on, we have to actually remove the reverse lockout mechanism. And because this product is awesome, it comes with everything supplied. We will use these later. So to remove the mechanism, all we do is remove this bolt right here, okay, and we remove this E-clip right here, and these have a tendency to fly when you get them off with a straight slot screwdriver, so be very careful not to lose it because there is a spring underneath it that is what keeps the mechanism working. So be very careful. Remove this E-clip, remove this bolt, slide all of the mechanism off, and everything will go back on in reverse order. So I'd probably put the boot back on first because it will be at the bottom, then the white bushing, your O-ring, and then last the plate. There, now that's everything reinstalled correctly. Make sure you tighten this bolt back down. You don't want that backing off while you're driving. Be sure to re-grease the shaft because after you slip this rubber boot off, it's probably going to take most of the grease. So make sure everything is lined back up, everything's working, it's well greased. And be sure to grease your pivot ball here. They gave you plenty of grease. So be sure to get this, and I'm also probably going to put a little bit more in here. It looks like they've already included some in here, but I'm probably going to squirt just a little bit more in there. Let's head back in the car. Do not get grease all over your seats. So just stick the shifter back into its housing like this, and the shift rod slipped right back in there. Now, instead of using the stock black washer that came with the car, you're going to use the push clip that came with the shifter from the manufacturer, and then you're going to put the cotter pin back in place, and the rest of this car will go back together the same way we took it apart. And here we go. It's a very good fitment, and it's just an overall just a great piece. Taking it down the road, the shifting is really notchy, and it feels 150% better than it was, and reverse is even easier to get with this. It's just a really good piece. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here for more Rage Fuel content. We'll see you next time.